Introduction to Meiman Aliens. Dewa travels through the world of Meiman and discovers that he is accompanied by an alien. First, set a small goal. I want to build a universe with aliens. At Marvel Multi. Iron Man, dressed in anti-alien armor, descended from the sky and said, "Sorry, Duva, I must stop you." The Wolverine, who reversed the future, looked sorrowful and said, "Mutants should not be a part of your tribe." Conqueror Kang looked at the pile of alien Kang who had infiltrated his dynasty and remained silent. In DC Dewar, Superman was surrounded by several Superman aliens and shouted, "Take out the kryptonite cannon and shoot at me." Batman desperately knocked down an alien and issued a soul torture, "Can you bleed? Oh, it's sour." The Green Lantern was hunted down by aliens wearing various colored lantern rings, killing dozens of river systems. He was extremely frustrated and said, "Why can these ghosts also become the lantern?" As Dewa charged into various multiverses with an army of alien creatures and relentlessly captured deities as incubators, he looked around. It seems like something terrible has happened. Chapter 1. Weiland Private Research Institute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Blade once again opened his eyes. Even though he has been here several times and has become accustomed to the environment, as a half-human and half-vampire, he still maintains vigilance at every moment. His eagle-like eyes looked around the dilapidated surroundings, brewing ferocity, occasionally flashing red in the dim light. A testament to his half-vampire identity. Above, the words, Weiland Private Research Institute, are hanging from the dilapidated building in front of me. This name looks abnormal at first glance. I really don't know what kind of madness the owner of this place has gone through. They have set up temporary strongholds in abandoned buildings that need to be demolished in New York City, and even given such a name that seems to be studying high-tech. At this moment, his ears twitched, schwa. The Blade instinctively grasps two samurai swords on the back. Special weapons mixed with silver. I advise you to put away those two weapons. This is my territory, and there are no vampires for you to kill. In a calm tone, no emotional fluctuations could be heard, and then a young black-haired man walked over. The delicate face proves that the owner of this face is not very old, only in his 20s, and at first glance looks harmless like a little white rabbit. If we ignore the strange creature next to this guy. If you could make this little pet stand back a few meters, maybe I'll believe what you're saying, the Blade paused and said before releasing its hand. But under his sunglasses, his eyes were fixed on the strange pet's every move. This thing is about 3 meters tall, with a black streamlined body that appears to be pieced together by countless segments of human vertebrae, a slender tail that seemed to be brewing 1,000 June's strength gently swayed, with a tip resembling a sharp knife, possessing strong penetrating power. The sharp claws dragged onto the ground, easily leaving long scratches on the ground, causing the Blade's eyelids to jump wildly. The most eye-catching thing is undoubtedly the head of this creature, like a strange crown, which seems to have an unusual meaning. A creature that has never been seen before, its entire body seems to be born for ultimate combat. It is simply a fantasy version of genius screenwriters in science fiction works. Blade also relied on its strong vision and keenly discovered that compared to the previous meetings, this monster now has a lot of unknown mucus on its body. Duva nodded, obviously satisfied with the response from the Blade. He casually glanced at the Blade's gaze, which also had a strange charm. His gaze swept over the Blade's body, staring at the protruding chest muscles, slender thighs, and explosive thick arms. It's really beautiful. The Blade furrowed its brow, and a hint of instinctive alertness flashed in its eyes. Here we go again. That kind of gaze made him feel that this guy was not looking at someone, and Blade had every reason to believe that this strange man had an unusual habit. At this moment, as if sensing the danger signal emanating from the Blade, the strange creature around Dewa moved and immediately swung its tail to pull it over. So fast. The Blade's expression slightly changed, and lifting the hand was like a knife. With a ding sound, his palm trembled slightly and he repelled the monster's tail, feeling a chill in his heart. Even if he didn't use all his strength, he couldn't cut off this metal hardtail with a single blow. Blade looked up again, only to find that the monster standing next to Dewar had silently disappeared and had already appeared on the ceiling above him. Its pointed claws flickered with a terrifying cold light, making it look like it could tear off Blade's skull at any moment. "Sorry, professional habits." Dewar quickly made an apologetic gesture. "You know, I'm a researcher and it's difficult to support such a venue alone, so it's inevitable to focus all my attention on work. This guy is very strong, what's his name?" Blade was secretly shocked and calmly gazed at this strange creature that silently retreated to Dewa's side, like a ghostly assassin. "Alien," Duva replied. "An interesting name. It seems to be the most outstanding achievement of your research institute, the weapon of war." Blade is also known for his extensive knowledge. Throughout his life, he fought against various monsters, mainly vampires. Even if it was just an exploratory confrontation, it was enough for him to qualitatively determine the existence of aliens, and even more so for Dewa. He doesn't care if Dewa is a science lunatic, as long as he can provide help. Duva is non-committal, the most outstanding. Excluding the point of laying eggs, this alien will not be the most outstanding in a long time. With this thought in mind, Dewa took a deep breath and forced himself not to be obsessed with the Blade's incredibly strong body. He took out a suitcase and said, "This is the highly corrosive weapon you want. Of course, it's diluted. Otherwise, only Edelman alloy would be used as its container. In the quiet of the night, this is better than ultraviolet grenades, at least it will help you kill enemies very quietly." Blade fell silent for a moment, took out a bag from his pocket, and threw it over. "According to our agreement, it's $100,000, said Blade. Duva blew a whistle and said, "Are vampire hunters that rich?" "Yes, killing vampires is a money-burning job, even bullets are made of silver. Anyway, it's not my money. The more vampires I kill, the more money I can grab from those beasts." Blade has always been generous in spending money. Pay with one hand and deliver with the other. "I will find an opportunity to promote your product and use this highly corrosive liquid to deal with vampires' super self-healing ability, which is very effective." Blade dropped this sentence and took a few steps back with the box. Duva suddenly said, "If possible, you can bring me some vampires back to live." "Oh. Dealing with those guys is not a good idea," Blade looked at him in surprise. "There's no way, there's not much time left," Duva said. Blade did not continue to respond, nor did it ask what it meant, disappearing into the darkness. Blade Warrior, TSK, this guy is really a righteous paranoid. Duva stared at the figure of the Blade leaving and closed the door again. The vampires in Marvel World are very interesting. The origin of these things is not Dracula or Cain, but a magician named Varna who first came into contact with the Dark Book and transformed himself into the original vampires through the power of the Dark Book. The author of the Book of Darkness is the renowned god of dark magic, who holds one of the three primordial powers of the multiverse. The power of chaos. He is the second-generation god of the primordial world tree, surpassing the mass-produced third-generation world tree gods such as Odin, Zeus, and the Jade Emperor. He is also the source of power for the Crimson Witch. Sis, one of the four great chaotic gods of the multiverse. As long as it is associated with hatred, ominei, and dark magic, there is more or less the shadow of the ultimate magical entity, Sizorn. However, there is no need to worry now. Duva feels that as an ordinary individual in a multi-dimensional world, he cannot even jump out of the most basic timeline and is not qualified to attract the attention of such big shots. The thing he needs to pay attention to now is ultimately to make money from a reputable blade. Blade Warrior, a renowned vampire hunter in the underground world, was bitten by a vampire while his mother was giving birth to him, resulting in him having half the vampire lineage as a newborn. He is not as afraid of silver and sunshine as ordinary vampires, so he can walk freely in the sunshine, to the point where he is called the Day Walker by envious and jealous vampires. But there are also drawbacks, which are the need to regularly inject immune drugs to avoid being completely engulfed by vampire bloodline. However, the character of Blade is relatively reliable. As long as you are willing to provide him with the convenience of hunting vampires, he is willing to do business with you. Duva shrugged and couldn't help but ask, who needs the money? Anyway, exchanging a little alien blood for the money of the Blade is just a temporary measure. Since crossing over to this Marvel world, Dewar once fell into anxiety. There are too many monsters in this world, or in other words, this universe, and too many fierce characters. But fortunately, he was accompanied by an alien. I remember before I traveled, Marvel had officially started serializing Aliens independent publications, which were pure high-tech worlds without superheroes or anything like that. Dewar counted the dollars in his hand, his thoughts drifting away. Hee. The alien next to him noticed a change in Duva's thoughts. Although he couldn't know exactly what Duva was thinking, he, who was absolutely loyal to the person in front of him, still made his own response. Alien calls are never meaningless, as long as they are spoken, they are inevitably expressing a certain purpose. Duva smiled slightly, reached out his hand, and obediently lowered his head, letting the man caress his crown-like skull. One person and one alien walked into the research institute, opened the secret room, and in the extremely rough and rudimentary basement, which seemed to be gnawed out by a powerful dog. Or rather, an underground cave. Duva slowly lifted his head. 5 white eggs covered in mucus came into view. Chapter 2. Alien blood is also blood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. People who see alien eggs for the first time will experience psychological discomfort to some extent. But it wasn't the first time Dewa had seen it. Not only was he not afraid, but he also walked forward and reached out to touch it with a smile, feeling the palpitations of life emanating from each egg. That's right, all the mutants will establish a spiritual connection with him from the moment they are born. Normally, in the alien race, only the alien queen is born with the authority to control all ethnic groups, even against the newly born face-hugging beetle. This is something engraved in the alien gene. Absolute ruling power. After my attempts, even the Empress is under me. Duva looked at the alien beside him. The skull of an ordinary alien is usually a smooth and long strip, but this alien skull is a crown that showcases dignity and status. Empress. In a tribe, only one alien can have the ability to lay eggs, and this alien is the queen. Thank you for your hard work. It took you so long to transform into an empress, and you worked hard to produce these 5 eggs, Dua smiled. Aliens do not distinguish between genders. Once they lose their queen or become single, they will follow their genetic instincts, explore hidden factors in their genetic chain, spontaneously evolve into queens, and have the ability to lay eggs. So, Dewa and this alien had been fighting for a long time, until this alien successfully evolved into a queen and laid eggs, and Dewa finally breathed a sigh of relief. Aliens are beings born specifically for combat, capable of indiscriminate parasitism and seizing the best genes of their hosts. Therefore, theoretically, each alien is stronger than its host. 5 eggs hatch into 5 face-hugging insects, which require parasitism to evolve into adult alien forms. To be honest, for a moment, Dewa was tempted by the Blade Warrior. This guy was already considered an extraordinary individual. If he could catch the parasitic and chest-piercing alien, his strength would be very strong. But Dewa still dispelled this evil idea. First catch some cats and dogs to parasitize, at least enrich my combat power. Duva looked at the queen who was waiting quietly for orders. To be honest, compared to the various queens in the movie, this queen is somewhat thin and pitiful, and must purchase a large amount of meat to make up for it. This time, the small animals around have been affected. For several days in a row, under the darkness, there would always be terrifying and agile figures appearing, and with a flash of darkness, life would pass away. At first, it was just a dark shadow, and as time passed, the number of these shadows was increasing. The brutal slaughter is intensifying, with the blood of various animals splattering on the ground, eventually solidifying into patches of mottled black. Until a few police officers received a report. "Head, we have arrived." According to the reporter, a large number of wild animals are missing in this area. A young police officer complained, "There is endless work in the bustling streets of New York City. Why do we waste precious time investigating cases in such ghost places? It's because those animal rights activists are difficult to deal with." "Don't forget our identities," said George Stacy, a slightly calm middle-aged police officer, observing the surroundings. Moreover, the person who reported the case is not even a so-called animal security personnel. "Since the playboy who claimed to be Iron Man returned, we have had more work to do. Wake up a bit, at least better than staying in New York City. Those who always have trouble jump out." "That's right, at least we didn't have to deal with foolish billionaires flying around in battle armor." George recalled the news he had learned a while ago and chuckled to himself. Some information cannot be disclosed to the public, but as an insider within the system, he is aware of some insider information and knows that there was a violent explosion in the Stark building recently, which was due to two tin-clad men fighting each other. From the results, the ultimate winner is undoubtedly Tony Stark, and the one who was knocked down must be the disappearing second in command of the Stark Group, Obadiah. Since this incident, it seems that a sensitive trigger has been ignited all at once, and various cases continue to emerge, leading to an unprecedented increase in their pressure. George withdrew his thoughts and began to focus on his work. He put on his gloves, took out his tools, and carefully collected all the traces around him. It's indeed a bit too quiet, all the animals seem to disappear overnight. There are scattered bloodstains on the ground, indicating that someone has attacked these animals. George frowned, bloodshot, and when he mentioned this, he had a bad association in his heart. They don't need to worry about this soon because someone has arrived. "Gentlemen, what are you looking for?" "What person?" "Let me see your hands." Several police officers pulled out their guns alertly. But this person not only didn't stop walking, but also walked over even harder. Under the reflection of the flashlight, his open mouth revealed sharp teeth one by one. Several police officers decisively fired shots, and the bullets hit the pale-looking man, leaving only a few holes. In the blink of an eye, these wounds began to heal. Even the bullets were squeezed out by the healed flesh and blood schwa. The man moved and leaped over 10 meters, biting into the neck of a police officer. Vampire. The thought came to George's mind amidst the lightning and flint. Head, there's more than one enemy. Several equally pale-skinned guys walked out one after another, rushing to grab onto the bitten police officer and taking big bites. This tragic scene made these police officers scalp numb, and even if they fired, they were unable to inflict fatal injuries. The leading vampire wiped his mouth and looked at them with playful eyes, clearly observing a group of delicious food. It seems that it's not just us who are watching here, but others as well. Why do people from the New York Police Department appear in such places? I don't remember arranging such actions for you, he asked. Pooh, when will vampires be able to command us? George took a deep breath. Oh, you know nothing about our power. Since you refuse to say anything, let it be. Anyway, I'm not here for you. The vampire licked his fangs, and compared to these ordinary people, he was trying to investigate who provided the strong acid weapon that the Daywalker had obtained from this area. Although it is highly corrosive, whether injected or exploded, it can effectively kill some vampires with mixed blood. But for some reason, I can clearly smell the smell of blood from these liquids. As a member of the 13 clans, Dennis bears the heavy responsibility of strengthening the power of the entire clan. His stronghold was pulled out by the Blade Warriors, resulting in the death of a large number of people, but he did not achieve nothing. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but Blade didn't deliberately cover up his whereabouts during this period. He relied on various cameras and motorcycle trajectories to follow the clues and lock in several areas. Dennis is very interested in this suspected blood-like thing. As is well known, vampires obtain energy from their blood to enhance their strength, which is blood and can be consumed. Unfortunately, these peculiar blood quickly evaporated upon contact with the air, which did not give him a chance. Hands on, kill these few foods. Dennis waved his hand. On Verlander's territory, without my permission, who do you want to kill? A sound came from afar. Under the illumination of a flashlight, Dewa stood several hundred meters away. The guy at the blade is really annoying. I asked for some vampires, but this is not the way. Chapter 3. Long live peace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that there was some deviation in his communication with Blade. According to Dewar's idea, we should secretly catch people, but in Blade's view, what to catch is to let the vampire come over directly, and the rest depends on Dewar himself. 6, that's okay. Dewa counted them, it's okay. With the power he currently possesses, he's more than enough to deal with these 6 guys. George looked at the harmless young man and became very anxious, shouting, run away, these guys are very dangerous. I know, Duva whispered, ignoring the blood on the ground as if completely unaware. This is also very reasonable. At night, the interval is several hundred meters. A vampire lifted his head, licked the blood in his mouth, and excitedly charged towards him. Dennis felt it was not right, but he didn't speak and looked at it with his strong eyesight. If nothing unexpected happens, this human will soon be pinned to the ground by a vampire, biting his neck. The vampire's absolute power and absolute speed are stronger than ordinary people. George's face suddenly changed. He wanted to save the young man's life. He was too aware of what a vampire was, but the distance seemed too late. As they watched, the vampire was about to bite Dewa's neck. In this moment, Shwa! A silver shimmering tail suddenly thrust out of the darkness, rubbing against Dewa's shoulder and stabbing towards him, silently but clearly filled with a chilling killing intent, accurately targeting the face of the attacking vampire. Chest. Dewar sent out the order in time. The tip of the tail moved down slightly and pierced the vampire's chest, like a string of tomatoes on sticks, stringing the whole person together and holding it high. A mournful scream was emitted, and the strong vitality prevented the vampire from dying on the spot, with fear mixed with disbelief. What is this thing? Cluck. A faint movement rang out. Immediately after, several ghostly figures shuttled through the darkness, scattered around, surrounding the vampires at close range. Dennis frowned slightly as he gazed at these strange creatures. 4. What kind of creatures are these? Dennis had a surprised expression on his face. It seems like this is where the police arrived inexplicably, strange humans with strange creatures. Dennis thought of that special blood and observed these alien creatures with his powerful night vision ability. Upon closer inspection, these things generally have the same style in appearance, but with slight differences. Some are slightly stronger, while others have a slender body, but with higher speed and agility. The only similarity is that these 4 mutants are all on 4 limbs. But Dennis has a strange feeling, like animals with different body structures, wearing the same vest, lying in front of him. George and others were also stunned, their mouths wide open in surprise, and the scene before them completely exceeded their expectations. Do you know Blade? It seems that you are the one who provided him with that strange weapon, Dennis said. This distance, this tone, both sides can still hear each other clearly. That's right, that's right. There's just a slight deviation in the situation. Killing you may help correct it a bit. Duva said, his eyes fixed on the vampire strung together by the alien tail. Fortunately, it's just a hole in the chest that won't die. Take it back in time and there's still room for rescue. The liquid you gave to the blade is also blood, isn't it? Where did it come from? Don't tell me if it was created by you, or is it? Dennis looked at these mutants repeatedly with a pair of eyes. Although somewhat absurd, excluding all possibilities, it may be related to these strange but powerful creatures. With just one tail, it is easy to string up a strong vampire, which demonstrates the extraordinary power of this creature. Hands on, Dewa gave the order first. The other 3 mutants quickly took action and were the first to charge towards the enemy, while the mutants next to Duva also joined the battle. These vampires immediately pulled out their pistols and fired at the alien. They are very intelligent and preliminarily judged that aliens are good at hand-to-hand combat, so they can solve it with firearms. Bang bang. The aliens began to show subtle wounds on their bodies, but continued to attack as if they had no pain at all. As they approached, blood from the wound began to drip down and hit the vampire, making a sizzling sound. My feet are worn. Be careful, these guys' blood has strong corrosiveness, just like the weapons used by Skywalker, even steel can easily corrode. But there is no such strong effect as this time. This time, the truth was completely revealed, but it was precisely because of some speculation that the vampires were even more shocked. How could there be such a strange thing in the world? Even the blood shed after being injured can cause powerful damage to the enemy. No, relying on the body to carry this corrosive blood is already outrageous. This kind of creature is simply a weapon that exists naturally for combat. Intense gunshots rang out one after another, and a few vampires were stimulated to be fierce. They abandoned their firearms and began to charge into hand-to-hand combat, but he soon realized that this was a wrong decision. At the moment when he rushed up against his face, he saw an alien opening its mouth and actively spraying out a mouthful of blood. This made a vampire lose its combat power. A vampire fell one after another, but for some unknown reason, they were injured and did not die. Their limbs were brutally torn off by the alien form, and they lay on the ground in pain and howling. The more they fight fiercely, the more wounds they make on the alien body, the more blood they are splashed with, and the greater the cost they pay. Even Dennis was amazed by his extraordinary combat abilities. He was well trained, as if he had practiced countless times. Despite not having any communication of cries or movements, he was able to play perfect tactics. His individual abilities were also extremely difficult, and he was not afraid of injury or death. No, or rather, under the premise that bleeding also causes harm to the enemy, self-injury and death have become one of the combat methods that this creature can use. Zhaoshuyuan.com. Enough, stop it. I'm here to negotiate. Dennis repelled an alien and watched as his subordinates fell one after another. He couldn't help but shout loudly, waving his arms vigorously, but aimed at Duva's position several hundred meters away and immediately fired. The shooting technique is very accurate. Kejua only slightly turned sideways and accurately avoided the bullet. Dennis's face changed and he fired one after another. With his shooting skills, not a single shot hit the target. This is not something that luck can explain, it indicates that the other person's physical fitness exceeds the level of ordinary humans, at least possessing super strong perceptual abilities. Dennis was immediately knocked down by an alien, his body heavily corroded, and he could only scream in agony. He felt extremely regretful in his heart, feeling that he had grown up and should call out more people. Even if you call more people, facing such a flexible opponent, it seems difficult to prevent them from escaping. More importantly, Dennis felt inexplicable from beginning to end, pitiful by fate. He didn't even know who his opponent was or what his background was. 6 vampires, it's really great. Duva walked over unscathed and looked admiringly at the 6 injured yet immortal creatures in front of him. Do you want to negotiate with me if you don't kill us? Tell me, what do you want, money? Or status and power? Dennis breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that his side was not dead. As long as there is talk, there is a chance to survive, and then consider how to retaliate. No, I need you to live well in the next few hours. I can't wait to verify something crucial from you guys who rely on human blood to survive. Duva's voice carried an inexplicable desire for exploration, like the whispers of a devil. Chapter 4. Blood Aliens. You are listening at novelful.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Who is he? You are listening at novelful.audio. Duva did not conceal his joy and carefully observed the alien with vampire genes, naming it the Blood Alien. Compared to other names such as reverse species, this name may seem ordinary, but compared to the special type of cold ice alien, it can also be justified. Blood Alien has the standard appearance of a drone alien. Standing upright, about 2.5 meters tall, with a slender head that presents a smooth appearance, and many meaningless dorsal tubes growing on the back. At first glance, it looks like a technological interface for docking with large instruments, and the whole body is wrapped in exoskeletons. These exoskeletons have strong impact resistance, which can be confirmed that ordinary large-caliber firearms are difficult to cause any harm to it. Because even male wasps that parasitize ordinary humans will not suffer fatal injuries when hit by large-caliber firearms. Moreover, blood abnormalities can obtain more energy through blood. Ordinary aliens can only consume a large amount of flesh and blood to maintain their physical strength. In terms of functional division of labor, the blood alien must be the drone alien that appeared in Alien 1, one social level higher than the messenger. Duva was admiring the work in front of him, while the other vampires were stunned. What the hell is this? Parasitic. A spider with a face-hugging face ran out of the egg, and the spider inexplicably died. The person fainted, and then a rapidly growing humanoid creature emerged from the person's chest. This combination of fists seems to have linear logic and causality, but when you think about it carefully, it is very unscientific. The vampires finally know why this human is so concerned about their life and death. But unfortunately, it's too late. The parasitism was confirmed to be effective, and the remaining 2 heterozygous eggs bloomed one after another, completing the parasitism. Dennis also wanted to save himself. He suggested that Duva had 3 eggs and could only parasitize 3 vampires. What should the rest of the people do? Isn't it just food? Duva comforted him thoughtfully, saying that he couldn't bear to turn them into food, but he could rest assured that none of them would run away. Immediately, in the deepest part of the cave, there was a silent and motionless existence. The alien queen moved. In front of everyone, after a while of brewing, she laid an egg on the spot through the hatching tube. So this pipe is used this way. Dennis collapsed and lost consciousness in despair as he watched the face-hugging bug pounce on him. Not long after, 6 blood mutants, much more powerful than the host vampire, obediently stood in front of Dewa. They were all starving, and with Dewa's permission, they were tearing at the remains of their hosts. All the small animals nearby have eaten up. It seems that we need to find a different way to ensure food supply. Several food companies in New York City have received food orders. In the next few days, there was a rare calm and no vampires came to their doorstep. Perhaps in the initial judgment of those guys, the missing vampires were all chopped by the blade. It was the abandoned building next door where a group of people came during the day and opened a meat shop on the spot. This behavior, which was too lazy to cover up, successfully aroused Dewar's appreciation. Are surveillance cameras so transparent these days? Hey guys, do you know these 2 buildings are going to be demolished? I heard they're going to build a large office building here. Dewa shouted at them. I know, but before the official demolition, it seems like there is a lot of money to do the cooked meat business here. Dewa nodded repeatedly, expressing agreement. Why does your deli only sell raw meat? This time, the agent did not respond. Dewa speculated that turning raw food into mature food would increase costs, which is related to reputation. However, when talking about selling cooked meat, actually selling raw meat is related to money, making it easier to deceive funds from above. The owner of the meat shop also felt very unlucky. He, as an worthless clone of Damdan Dugan, simply learned the style of an 8th level agent. Whenever he met someone, he would call himself the FBI, when he met someone, he would call himself the CIA, and when he met someone, he would call himself the FBI. When these two companies reconciled and started working, he would only say he was a special agent of the Divine Shield if he couldn't make up any more. Anyway, no one will remember the full name of the Divine Shield Bureau, let alone know what this thing is all about. But unfortunately, I met a more serious and energetic guy. George Stacy. Damn it, he's just doing routine work and confidently arranging for the local police station to conduct preliminary investigations. If it were all up to the people of the Divine Shield Bureau to scrutinize countless suspected extraordinary events around the world, he would have been exhausted long ago. Even if his body could separate out a bunch of clones shared by the memory cloud, he wouldn't be able to get busy. There's nothing he can do now, he can only take on the job and do it himself. The only fortunate thing is that the target character is guaranteed by a Blade warrior, who is not a thug who indiscriminately kills innocent people and has the most basic ethics. What level of agent are you? Look, the target character who can drive strange creatures is lying on the leaky window and shouting at him. Yesterday it was level 3, now it's level 2, he replied, not knowing whether the mission was successful or not. Anyway, I'm just a worthless clone. At least it's progressing in an orderly manner, not to the point of shaking people over the phone, okay. It can also help the body deceive some funds from that stingy bald man. Duva stared at the guy across from him, and now he is completely certain that this guy is from the Divine Shield Bureau. As a special agency monitoring extraordinary global events, the Divine Shield Agency has 5 major rogue endorsements, and it is their responsibility to closely monitor special individuals. But Dewa was surprised to find such an honest person in charge of keeping an eye on him. Even though Blade has not yet formed a Howling Assault team, it must have established a connection with the Divine Shield Bureau and may have become a senior agent of the Divine Shield Bureau. Blade will become a level 10 agent of the Divine Shield Bureau in the future. It's normal for Dewa to be known by the Divine Shield Bureau when dealing with Blade. Anyway, the existence of the alien will be exposed sooner or later. It's impossible to hide it from the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. It is precisely because of this behavior that the Divine Shield Agency does not evaluate him as a high-risk individual. At least not for now, what Dewa needs is precisely now. Duva likes honest people, which means he doesn't need to consume too many brain cells. Especially, he learned that the person monitoring him was actually called the Damn Bullet, and Dewa understood the other person's identity. Darmton is also a level 10 agent with the ability to share a memory save with clones, which makes him fortunate enough to become a powerful figure in the Divine Shield Bureau. Duva did not show any stress response to this kind of close observation. In this era where superhumans are not uncommon, the Divine Shield Agency is dedicated to tracking and evaluating every extraordinary individual. If it is confirmed that the target character is harmless and does not possess strong special abilities, relevant information will be recorded and personnel will be withdrawn. As long as they do not commit crimes, the Divine Shield Bureau will not pay too much attention. Nick Fury looked at the report in his hand expressionlessly. The target person is suspected to be secretly conducting biochemical experiments and obtaining research and development funds through the Blade. Yes, according to those police officers, he was able to drive strange but powerful creatures and capture several vampires alive. No, that's not what I want to emphasize. Fry knocked on the table and raised his voice. I mean, this guy registered a villain biotech company and is conducting legal biochemical experiments. He emphasized the word legal. Those strange creatures are worth paying attention to. In this world where crazy people are everywhere, those who dare to stand up have 2 brushes. Frey's meaning was very clear. He looked at his old buddy Damdan and said, whose person is this guy named Duva? Chapter 6. Dewar is worth this price. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dan sorted out the shared memory archive in his mind and found information uploaded by clone number several hundred. He honestly said, as far as I know, he is not anyone's person. I have not been able to trace any interference from other forces in every action he takes. Great, let's reanalyze the report you gave me. It took you a week to confirm that a person who can use unknown means to manufacture biochemical weapons, publicly trade with Blade, and attack vampires, has the biggest suspicion on his body. Perhaps he prefers raw meat over cooked food. I said this is not my conclusion, do you believe it? Said Dan with a smile on his face. He also knew that this was simply a response that could only be given after his head was pinched by the door. I believe it, and I have more reason to suspect that what is perfunctory in front of me is not your 10th level ontology, but a clone whose real level is not even as good as a 2nd level agent. Frederick stared at the darmshell in front of him. This guy doesn't even bother to speculate that the cute animals he controls like to eat raw. Meeting a clone who doesn't want to work is at best unlucky, but encountering a reporter who doesn't want to use his brain is really scary. Dan lowered his head and thought for a moment, probably thinking about how to deceive Fry into believing the flawed memory in his shared archive. Alright, I have a rough idea of what's going on. Tell your essence and try to shift your attention back a bit from. Okay, but I cannot guarantee that this user will review the information I uploaded in a timely manner. Frey's forehead twitched, thanks to his injection of a weakened version of super serum, otherwise he would have had a cerebral hemorrhage. So, based on the existing intelligence and the information provided by Blade, this person can cooperate, but we cannot trust him at the moment. He is a legitimate company owner, taking advantage of legal loopholes, claiming to be conducting biological experiments and about to develop a special drug to cure mutant people. Who approved this application? Reason? Fry asked. How to think and how to be mentally disabled. Dan scratched his temples, trying to gather useful memories and figuring out what lies to fabricate to prove that he was a talented clone. Because recently there have been many people using similar rhetoric to deceive government funds. A man walked over, as a man who had received thousands of protagonists, with a calm demeanor as he walked, with a strange smile on his face. Coulson said, compared to those scammers, as a graduate of genetics at Johns Hopkins University, he could at least come up with a few excellent papers to embellish his appearance. It turned out that he didn't get the money and only got a piece of land as an experimental site, but interestingly, there was indeed a remittance of funds from the government's accounts to Weiland Biotech. Worms, shameful. Fry punched the table with a punch, and with superpowers, he was so angry that he knocked it over. Who is the highest person in charge of this? How can he tolerate this kind of thing to happen? Colonel Stryker. Oh. There was a moment of silence. Dan tapped his head and said, I just came across a memory where he was responsible for monitoring the clone of the target character and reported a robbery in the cooked food warehouse. It seems that the other party has spent all the money and had to resort to direct means. Most importantly, he took the opportunity to snatch back the money he paid to the clone, perhaps preparing to pay back again the next time he buys food. I roughly understand what you mean. He is someone who is passionate about eating raw meat and has robbed your cooked food warehouse. Listen, this is such a terrifying crime. He can't even distinguish between raw and cooked food. Fry stared at Darmstadt intently. Damden's face stiffened. Coulson said, Blade has made 3 transactions with him and only gave him a total of $200,000. Unfortunately, Blade is unwilling to give us the blood of that organism, so we don't have the opportunity to conduct research. However, even if we get it, we can't study it. That corrosive blood can even corrode ultra-high alloys. This design concept itself should be aimed at reverse gene decoding engineering, even if the blood provided by Dewa is diluted. Coulson is not very familiar with the characteristics of mutants. Even if he really relies on genetic fragments to create artificial mutants, these mutants will not listen to him. The inevitable event is to make a big fuss over the divine shield. Blade is a powerful warrior, but not the best spy. He has his own code of conduct, and if he really wants to be stubborn, you can't do anything about him. Alright, send someone to provide an additional $200,000 funding for your clone. With a very generous wave of his hand, Fry completed the approval and instructed, remember to issue an invoice worth 2 billion yuan and give it to the 5 hooligans to make money quickly. Boss, I don't think they will believe it. Find a strange scientist at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com who can only deal with a few vampires despite risking his life. It's not worth 200 million at all. Dan keenly discovered the truth and faithfully reminded him. It's impossible for him to create such a powerful and unknown new creature that even vampires can defeat. He's worth it, said Fry with a determined expression, but it's hard to say what he thinks in his heart. In Frey's view, Dewa's achievements, apart from novelty, may only have merits in the field of biotechnology. It may take several years or even decades to settle down and achieve earth-shattering breakthroughs in biotechnology, in order for Dewa to have the value that he focuses on promoting. He controls the Divine Shield Bureau, which holds countless hidden information related to human survival, as well as many special powers. Underwater, Kunlun, Moon, Mage, Demon, Heavenly God, Iceberg, Black Dragon, Alien. So, the current Dewa is not worth his personal intervention. Continue to monitor, focus on evaluating his psychological condition, confirm whether his personality is stable and reliable, and then make plans. It is impossible to truly remove surveillance. Dewa's ability is not as simple as spraying fire or exposing water, but has reached a level that is enough to easily commit major crimes and must be in the monitored sequence. Because in this world, those who are extremely dangerous are not necessarily those with special powers, but also those with special wisdom. Coulson, talk about the situation on your end. Fry quickly put Duva's matter behind him, and he could spend a few minutes discussing whether Duva's behavior was an exception or something else was more important. Coulson's smile gradually narrowed and he said, "It's a bit bad. After his father died, Banner hid for a while and has now been discovered, facing global pursuit." Chapter 7. No one understands vampires better than me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dewa has always been aware that the endurance of the Divine Shield Bureau is limited, but for some reason, they just haven't taken any further action. Is the funding so sufficient? Anyway, life goes by like this day by day. Dewa and Damdan are just neighbors, occasionally making cameo appearances with Robin Hood, spending a pile of money repeatedly, and enjoying it. So far, the Queen has laid a total of 14 eggs, of which 2 have not hatched yet. After the other eggs hatched, 11 mutants were born. Dewa counted his strength on his fingers and kept an eye on the mental state of these mutants. This belongs to a special telepathic ability. During this period, Dewa didn't even leave the door until Blade couldn't resist coming back. "You know, I don't like coming to your place." As soon as he entered, Blade pushed his sunglasses and looked around. He noticed several messenger mutants, but he didn't see the one wearing a crown. He immediately said, "Not to mention that you have a larger number of pets. How did you do that? How did you manage to make vampires feel so uncomfortable just by killing them alone?" Duva said. "Strength, I have strong strength. This is also my answer, because I am very strong, so I always believe that I can achieve great things." Blade doesn't believe a single word, thinking that Dewa must have nurtured the embryos of these guys a long time ago, and now they are just released. "Tell me, what's wrong with you?" "I might not sell strong acid to you anymore," said Dewa. "No need, I killed a scumbag who claimed to be the blood god, and your weapon provided great help. However, the cost is that some vampires have already suspected you and are trying to find a way to deal with you. Then let them come, maybe wiping out the vampires from this planet would be a good choice." Duva carefully considered this possibility. Blade's gaze fixed and he said, "Are you serious? This is difficult unless you can develop a vampire virus, but someone has been trying for so many years and the effect is not significant. I think you can gain more from developing a potion for mutants." Ha, do you think dealing with mutants is easier than dealing with vampires? No, I just feel that the problem with mutants is bigger and more complex. If you start from this, you will gain more, just like many scientists have chosen. Vampires are just a group of parasitic insects on humans, said Blade. Dewar set the tone for their conversation. Then I will parasitize my power on the vampire. There is a definite disgust towards vampires, perhaps with a certain degree of human supremacy, but of course it may also be a pretense, just because hunting vampires can bring him benefits, Blade silently thought. But the specific benefits cannot be imagined by the Blade. What else do these vampires have besides relying on their long lifespan and saving a lot of money? There is nothing. Blade finally spoke out his purpose. There's something I might need your help with. Are you representing yourself or the team behind you? I haven't officially joined them yet, so to be precise, I need your help because I don't know many reliable guys. Blade remained calm. I've received news that a crazy general is addicted to the super soldier program, and he even used his army to capture a green mobile blood bank. Do you want me to deal with that green guy? It's not easy. I remember seeing reports related to him online a few months ago, Dewar said. Blade looked at Dewar with a strange gaze, shocked by Dewa's imagination. What makes you feel like you have the ability to participate in Hulk's affairs? That guy just needs to roar and can shatter your few little pets. Is it really crazy? Are young people nowadays so fierce? Still overestimating one's own level. I should really feel fortunate then, Dewar said without hesitation. Blade carefully observed Dewa's micro-expression. Sometimes he really couldn't understand whether this guy was confident because he didn't understand or because he had hidden a hand. He leans towards the former. Anyone who knows about Hulk's intelligence would be stunned. A green fierce man who can hit an airplane with his bare hands can easily wave his hand and unleash hundreds or even thousands of tons of power. It would be easy to unleash more power if he regained his energy. Blade said, I need to deal with some guys who covet the bloodline of Hulk. Your pet is very flexible and seems to be very suitable for combat, which can help us share some pressure. But why did I get involved in such a dangerous situation? Just because those people are evaluating my level of threat. Listen, I'm not sure how much you've guessed, but it's not harmful to do what you can, Blade said calmly. Your power hasn't reached the level that those people fear, but they can't let you act casually. You're so smart, you should have anticipated this situation when you first traded with me. After speaking, Blade stared into Dewa's eyes and said, Are you deliberately showing off your talents? Perhaps it's time to expose yourself at zhaoshuyuan.com. Leveraging their power to strengthen oneself is a good choice. Don't misunderstand, I don't want to join you, I just want to give back to society, Dewa waved his hand. He did take this step sooner or later, using the blade as a springboard, which was also a suitable opportunity. He took a document from Blade's hand, quickly flipped through it, and roughly understood the focus of the Divine Shield Bureau. Originally, the primary target was not Hawk, but another person. Mr. Lon, who had already conducted genetic experiments on Hawk's blood. Blade has set its sights on Mr. Lon, citing that he has an intersection with a special vampire. The Blood Baron. Perhaps he is engaged in a troublesome blood transaction and is a target that needs to be eradicated. In Blade's understanding, ghosts only then know what kind of ghost the top vampire will become after drinking the blood of the Hulk, which is too dangerous. Got it, you need me to track and intercept Mr. Lon, right? Dewa said, let's talk about it first. The price I can offer is not low. $1 million. $2 million, this is a deadly matter. Besides, I also need all the information you have about the population distribution and stronghold of vampires, said Dewa. The Blade gazed meaningfully at this young man, even asking for information on population numbers. To make such a request is either to drink too much or to have a terrible appetite. Where exactly did vampires attract Dewa? Blade did not understand the correct usage of vampires, and Dewa felt that he only understood. With a large quantity and relatively good individual strength, working in a batch can still earn money. There is nothing more attractive to Dewa's interest than catching vampires. Otherwise, if we don't catch vampires, who will we catch? Mutants. Chapter 8. Aliens likes to play in teams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As an elite soldier, Bronsky is a very thoughtful man. He believes that a real man should be big and fierce. Just like Hulk, when stimulated, it will become bigger, and when hit, it will become even bigger. Bronsky deeply yearned for Hulk, and the best way to worship something is to study it and become it. That's how he did it. First of all, this is imperfect serum. If any problems arise, said a skinny scientist cautiously. Enough, I know what I'm doing. If I keep procrastinating, I'll kill you. Bronsky impatiently said, keep injecting me, I want to be stronger than Hulk. Upon hearing these words, Mr. Lon couldn't help but shake his head in secret and became stronger than Hulk by injecting serum extracted from Hulk's blood. Listen, is this speaking in human language? There is no such thing at all. Even hybridization experiments still require many generations of manual screening. But Brown Sky didn't care about it. This soldier was already crazy, and Mr. Blue was happy to inject serum into Bronsky's body. As a netizen of Dr. Banner, he conducted various experiments on him and kept the blood of Hulk in his hand. Now, he happens to use Brown Sky to verify his results. Hulk is much stronger than I expected, and my level of intelligence is not enough for me to perfectly excavate the power in Hulk's blood, which is troublesome. Mr. Lon also has his own concerns, and he plans to immediately flee and hide for a period of time after the injection is completed. If you still have a clear mind, you can come to me again. Perhaps we have another chance to cooperate. Mr. Lon said this, thinking that there was no next time for Bronsky. Bronsky was unable to carry the power of serum, and the best outcome was a genetic mutation. He was arrested, imprisoned, and tested to death by official personnel. Roar. Sure enough, Brown Sky began to transform, his body expanding and piercing the ceiling, his skin becoming like a lizard, and sharp bone spurs growing on his back. Power, this is power. Bronsky was extremely excited, feeling the constant burst of power in his body, and his face twisted. As it arose, the anger that accompanied this force, mixed with Bronsky's own thoughts, condensed into a brand new emotion. Hatred. Brown Sky named himself Hate for his superpower, in order to regain the self-esteem he had lost from Hulk and to prove that he was the strongest by killing Hulk. Hate it, right? I don't think you have a chance to avenge Hulk because I'm here. Several alien creatures broke through the window and entered, with agile movements, quickly weaving through walls and floors, enveloping hatred. Mr. Lon was awakened and withdrew his gaze from his hatred, looking in surprise at these unidentified creatures. As a biologist, he understood at a glance that these unheard-of things may not be natural creatures. At least not natural creatures on Earth. Because no natural organism on Earth has an exoskeleton-like body structure, let alone grow like this. Science fiction. With just one glance, Mr. Lon was deeply attracted by this creature, even slowing down his escape speed. When a messenger alien lay not far from him, staring at him with an eyeless head, he couldn't walk anymore. He could only carefully stick to the wall, move slowly, and try to stay away from the insane hatred. Did Ross send you here? It's ridiculous. He used to be my general, using ridiculous rules to restrain me, but now it's my turn to manage him. I'm stronger than him. His hateful mind was filled with various wild thoughts. Are you stronger than him? That's good. If I were stronger than you, it would be reasonable for me to take everything from you. Dewa spoke like this, his eyes scraping back and forth like knives on his burly body of hatred. To be honest, hatred is ugly, at least much uglier than Hawk, but Dewa doesn't mind it. What kind of gaze are you giving? The appreciative gaze, in my eyes, when you transform into a different form, you will be very beautiful. Dewar was generous with his praise and love. I was disgusted for a moment, thinking that this little one was probably crazy, so I lifted my foot and stepped on it. Beauty. Ugly. He just felt that his brains seemed a bit crazy and couldn't control himself well. Now it seems that this stranger has already gone crazy. A ferocious smile lingers at the corner of the mouth, with sharp teeth bulging out, hating and hoping to get a touch of muddy feet. Boom. The person did not step on it, only crushed the floor and created a deep pit. I don't even have the strength to hit people, how could you still say that you want to hit Hulk? Duva retreated at a speed far exceeding that of an ordinary person and gestured. Soon, more and more monsters appeared around, surrounding the hateful group and launching an attack together. Aliens that generally do not exceed 3 meters are undoubtedly too petite compared to the hatred of muscles all over 4 meters high, but they are more numerous. 11 alien creatures launched attacks layer by layer, with the strongest blood alien charging at the front, swinging its tail and stabbing at the hateful eyes. Jokes, just rely on these things to deal with me. Hate was also the first time he had seen an alien, but he was not afraid at all. He laughed wildly and reached out his hand, grabbing a slow-moving alien with a cruel smile on his face. His hands pinched fiercely. Pop. But unfortunately, I didn't see a patch of red, instead it was a patch of green. That's right, Hulk's green, but this kind of green blood is an incredibly terrifying strong acid. It only touches the palm of hatred, causing it to emit earth-shattering cries of sorrow. Pain, pain, it's too painful. Faced with this kind of blood that can instantly corrode superalloys, even detestable skin can withstand the explosion of rocket launchers, and even searching for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com cannot withstand it. ZZ. The skin burned through, the flesh and blood disappeared, revealing a forest of white bones, and to make matters worse, even the bones were breaking. Fortunately, hate has a powerful self-healing ability. With a roar, the injury began to heal at a visible speed to the naked eye. But with this precious gap, more alien forms rushed forward. Several messenger mutants quickly climbed up the walls, finding opportunities to spit out strong acid, leaving large scars on the body of hatred. Hatred and roaring incessantly, based on his size, any alien caught by him with missing arms and legs is good, while the blood alien is slightly better, with higher physical strength and the ability to carry it. What the hell is this? I detest killing 3 alien creatures in a row and am extremely troubled by their siege. The coordination of the alien is really great. When he is about to catch one alien, the other aliens can always accurately seize the opportunity to launch attacks, forcing him to change the target. Of course, it is also possible not to change the target, but to bear the cost of injury. Hate once again caught an alien, but the cost was not light. A blood alien rushed forward, opened its mouth, and spat out its inner nest teeth. The inner nest teeth, like tongues, protruded at a speed faster than bullets, and the top teeth bit the hateful eyes, then pulled hard, splashing out a patch of blood. Hate let out a painful howl, and this successful blood alien bit at his flesh, quickly recovering its strength and injuries by drawing his blood. Now, you can hug your face. Dewa wandered through the outermost safe zone, constantly searching for opportunities, and finally arrived. That's right, the reason why he accepted Blade's private invitation to take an adventure in this operation is for the present moment. Chapter 9. Successful Face Embracing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Throughout, Dewar did not put himself in the position of a good person. Because it's simple, he can't be a superhero. It's not that he lacks the basic concept of judging good and evil, but rather because the special power he possesses. The alien, once exposed through parasitic chest piercing to seize the lifelong power of a living body in complete transcendence, he cannot be accepted by certain groups in this world. Once exposed, even the most righteous superhero would be wary of him and full of vigilance towards him. So, from the beginning, Duva joined this operation with half effort, driven by hatred. Blade, or in other words, being examining his divine shield bureau, would surely believe that this action was Duva grabbing the olive branch they extended, essentially a disguised demonstration of goodwill and closeness towards them through this action. According to normal development, Dewar, who has a strong sense of justice, is willing to take risks for the missions released by the Divine Shield. The Divine Shield Bureau will evaluate and make judgments. Perhaps one day, Dewar will join various special teams formed by the Divine Shield Bureau as a superhero. Not necessarily the Avengers, because there are many special units under the name of the Divine Shield Bureau, and the Avengers League being built is just one of them. The normal process should be like this, and Dewar does meet the special aesthetic of some people. Having a superior special power, wisdom, and a clean background, it is simply perfect. Unfortunately, all of this is false, built on the premise that they are unaware of the shocking ways in which the alien race grows, and their growth potential is simply incalculable. It's hard to become a superhero, it doesn't matter. I don't need to put in a lot of effort to stick to some guy's cold buttocks, so let's take another path. I can't make everyone respect my character, but I can make everyone fear my power. Duva's mind is very clear, as long as he has enough powerful force, there will be no problem. Hate is the key to the present. As long as one can obtain hatred and cultivate the first warrior alien with the help of the body of hatred, the comprehensive power in Duva's hands will take off for the first time. Of course, if successful, the outcome would be enough to shock the world and expose Duva and the alien to many dangerous individuals. However, Duva didn't have the heart to pay attention to those trivial details and would wait until he received his hatred. As long as the speed of strength growth exceeds the speed of crisis arrival, all forms of adventure actions are worthwhile. The key is that the characteristic of alien creatures is that as long as they find the right host, the speed of strength transformation will be extremely exaggerated. Schwa. Duva took out an egg. 4 petals opened, and a face-hugging bug quietly emerged. I couldn't see this, but I hid in the corner, praying that God would favor me and not be killed by the flying debris, while staring at the alien Mr. Lawn with obsession. What is that? From its size, it seems to be an ostrich egg, but the eggshell is soft and strange creatures have emerged from the egg, swimming flexibly, and the target seems to be hate. Mr. Lawn was startled and couldn't believe his own eyes. This little thing, still a newborn one, how could it dare to have hateful ideas? No matter what method I use, I will definitely not succeed. Hate is my proudest work. Even if I am surrounded and killed by creatures that can release strong acid, I will not lose to this little one. This thought flashed in Mr. Land's mind. From the perspective of the war situation, although Hate was extremely disheveled and his strong body was in tatters, he did not lose the battle. Over time, a powerful force from the Hulk bloodline was rapidly healing his injuries, and due to his anger, his strength was slowly increasing. Although the growth momentum quickly came to a halt, perhaps because the potential of serum had already been exhausted, even so, one could easily unleash a 100-ton level punch, and the alien form would be either killed or injured. As the battle continued, more and more mutants were killed, leaving not even a single corpse. But even in death, the alien beings will exert their last bit of strength to anger and die on the body of hatred, letting their blood spread throughout the body of hatred, causing even more terrifying trauma to the hatred. This degree of loss gradually makes hatred unbearable. Very good little bug, but unfortunately it's not enough. With this kind of power, it's also worth fighting against me. Hate laughed heartily. After a while, he had already killed 5 alien creatures, and they were the strongest, with most of the remaining being smaller models. Even though one of his own arms and shoulders had been corroded to the point of leaving only a skeleton, they were still supported. Victory belongs to the strong, it belongs to great hatred. When hatred thinks this way, he will kill these bugs, then find Dewar, cruelly crush him, find a place to rest, and finally kill Hulk, proving that he is the strongest. There is nothing wrong with pursuing strength for himself. At this moment, feeling a trace of weariness in disgust and rejoicing in the prospect of victory. The face-hugging beetle seized the opportunity and lay on the back of a messenger. When disgust caught it, it showed extraordinary agility and quickly crawled along its disgusted finger bones, smoothly jumping onto its disgusted face. What is it? Hating the use of both hands, he first tore the messenger alien in half, which was too easy for him. Dealing with the alien that parasitizes ordinary mammals, one at a time. But his arrogance still caught him off guard. Who would have thought that the real killing move would be such a small thing? Rao, with a strong sense of hatred, also experienced a momentary dizziness after being smeared by the face-hugging insect. However, this dizziness was quickly dissipated by anger. He pinched the unresponsive face-hugging insect with 2 fingers and fiercely fell onto the wall, smashing it into flesh and mud. ZZ. The remains of the face-hugging beetle exploded, corroding the walls as well. This little thing also has this kind of blood in its body. The scientists who made this thing are really crazy, but the power obtained through this method cannot be compared to mine. Only the ultimate power is the future, which is the conclusion drawn from hating and observing Hulk and personally acquiring some of his power. It seems that he will work even harder to kill all these disgusting creatures and then take down the young man who insists on opposing him despite his unknown background. But when he went to hunt down other monsters with a hideous expression, he was surprised to see that these monsters quickly retreated and gathered, and the young man appeared in a further position at some point. Brown Sky, we will meet again soon, in another form. Duva's face was beaming with a smile, and after confirming the successful parasitism, the stone in his heart completely fell to the ground. No matter how much hatred he roared wildly, he also found this big guy very cute. The more powerful and majestic he is, the more pleased Dewa is, like a kind old father. The hatred turned red in his eyes, and he paid a huge price. Before he could taste the taste, he suffered significant damage. He immediately grabbed a piece of reinforced concrete and threw it fiercely at Dewa. Dewa stood motionless, with a gentle expression on his face. The 5 remaining alien creatures moved simultaneously, blocking Dewa's body. They reached out their claws and lifted it upwards with a loud roar, lifting the reinforced concrete away. In the dust, Dewa's face was revealed. Ultimate elegance, showing complete composure. With a roar of disgust, he strode forward with great strides, only to see Dewa leap forward and easily appear a dozen meters away. This obviously extraordinary physical condition surprised disgust as well. After Dewa successfully escaped, this series of actions made hatred incomprehensible. Next time we meet, I must kill this bastard. Hate rushed to repair his wound, angrily punched the wall, shook a ceiling, and hit his head. But we don't know who he really is, Mr. Lon said. Hate kicked the poor Mr. Lon, almost knocking him out, but whether it was luck or misfortune, Mr. Lon collided with a bottle of Hauka serum that he had not used up and had carefully sealed. Chapter 10. Ancient One Special Troubles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The war between Hate and Dewa has attracted a lot of attention. It looks like the battle is very intense, but who are you fighting with? Blade stood on a tall building in the distance and looked down, saying. Discovered a replica of Hulk and went to say hello. Dewa's face remained calm. If you could clean your pets' bodies and heal their injuries, perhaps I would believe what you said. The Blade showed a penetrating smile and pointed to several mutants beside Dewa, saying, it seems that you have suffered a great loss. This can easily create opportunities for your enemies to kill you. Don't worry, I'm not that easy to get killed yet. If you're referring to vampires as enemies, I hope the more they come, the better, Duva said. Blade carefully examined these alien creatures, and if he thought for a moment, he could see that Duva had extraordinary confidence in the creature he had created. In addition, he never saw the alien with a crown on its head. The two of them chatted without a word, until their barely recovered hatred roared and appeared on the street. Blade's face was surprised, and his strong intuition naturally felt a strong sense of threat from hatred. In fact, even if he was hit directly by hatred, it was enough. What really caught the attention of the Blade was actually the appearance of the small half of the body that could be repaired with hatred. What did you do? I did it well. How many alien creatures have died on your end? Nearly half. Nearly half of them are dead, and there are still 6 left. It seems that you have prepared well in secret. Blade was taken aback. It's only been a while, and there are only about 10 left. Among the 6 surviving ones, one looks very strong and has a more eerie and sci-fi appearance, clearly a new alien. Paying such a painful price to besiege hatred and failing further illustrates the danger of hatred. Next, the 2 of them saw, disgusted by the commotion on Broadway, angrily kicking off one vehicle after another on the street. If it were just an unmanned vehicle, the Blade could still sit still, but when he saw a civilian being swept in, he couldn't help but take out his knife and charge forward. With his strong physique, he took a few brisk steps on the building and saved the civilian. Duva didn't move, he was patiently waiting, deeply anticipating. This inexplicable silence surprised those with intentions. What is he doing? Someone's going to die, but he's waiting. Dan pointed at the screen, perhaps it was fear. He had a fight with that monster first, and the losses were too great, so he was afraid and didn't dare to continue fighting. Fry shook his head secretly. Is that all? Having a timid heart is not a bad thing, at least knowing that one is afraid of power may make it easier to control. While thinking, Fry operated on the computer for a while and lowered his estimated rating for Dewa by 2 levels, reaching a level that was usable but not worth relying on. Fry was very disappointed, but the Blade was not there. He was puzzled by Duva's silence and speculated that Duva had discovered something crucial. From beginning to end, he never felt any form of fear on Dewa. All this entanglement ended at the moment when Dr. Banner jumped off the helicopter and stumbled into Hulk. Even Fry ignored Dewa and stared at Hulk on the screen. With Hulk around, who would care about Dewa? Do you know the gold content of Hulk? Do you know how powerful this thing is? Hulk. When he saw Hulk, his hatred immediately became excited. The manic inner turmoil stimulated by Dewar completely erupted, and he left his Blade as if crazy and began to run towards Hulk, stomping on huge pits on the asphalt road with every step. Boom! Hulk was ejected. Previously, after undergoing Mr. Land's experiment and being injected with an inhibitory drug, Hulk felt powerless and unable to exert much strength, resulting in being suppressed by hatred in the situation. 2 giants fought against each other, colliding and rolling, leaving 2 gorillas alive and causing chaos throughout the street. The hatred grew increasingly excited, and one punch after another hit Hulk, as if something was brewing and about to explode in his chest. Do you see, Hulk? I'm stronger than you. Brown sky. Hate is the strongest. Hate roared up to the sky. A pair of eyes were fixed on him, and this scene was uploaded to the internet through various channels, igniting the whole world. This is destined to be an iconic event, where individuals wielding extraordinary powers display their powerful abilities without restraint, engaging in slaughter and destruction. Looking at these 2 playful battles, even ordinary punches and kicks can crush sturdy cars, and sturdy buildings look like tofu blocks in front of them. At this moment, many people on Earth who also possess extraordinary powers noticed this scene. Professor, we still have time to start now. No, we can't do it ourselves. Ultimately, this is human infighting, and our casual actions can stimulate some people's sensitive nerves. The members of the X team watched the sudden news broadcasted on TV and had a disagreement, eventually turning to Professor X sitting in a wheelchair. Professor X, however, looked skeptical and said, "Something is not quite right. That hatred is not just his own, but there is also a consciousness within him that rejects my spiritual connection. It feels strange. Professor X has never encountered such a thing before. It doesn't matter if there is another individual with independent consciousness in the body, but the most bizarre thing is that this individual who rejected him seems to have been deeply bound to the third unknown spirit. Hating this guy is really just a product of a simple experiment losing control. Or was it deliberately created by some guys? Professor X hesitated on his face, but instead dared not move. He could have used his spiritual power to appease hatred and Hulk and make them stop fighting, but considering the terrible situation of the mutants, Fate Woman once said, in many futures, mutants are the result of being eliminated. I should be even more vigilant, preferably not doing anything unnecessary, and try to ease the relationship with ordinary people as much as possible. Professor X's heart is very painful, he dare not tell others the countless futures that Fate Woman has seen. No matter how mutants develop, there is only one dead end. What exactly should he do to be right and right? Some people are much more carefree than Professor X. Gui sat on the top of a snowy mountain, sensing information from various dimensions of the universe, judging the potential threats posed by the existence of many universes to the Earth. She took a moment to glance at New York. Well, reality has once again changed its direction, but this is not the work of a demon god from another dimension, it is the result of the Earth's own development. As a Heavenly Father-level existence, coupled with a large number of artifacts such as the Time Gem, the Book of Emperor Vishan, and the Book of Kamutro, her actual combat power is approaching the level of a single universe. Koichi keenly perceives the subtle changes happening on Earth and does not want to interfere. She doesn't have a reality gem in her hand, so she can't arbitrarily modify some established facts into never appearing. Compared to this, she is more concerned about her debt ceiling issue. Emperor Weishan did not demand any benefits from me, nor did Ceterak, so using white magic and demon spells is temporarily safe. The biggest problem is still with black magic. In the entire multiverse, all the magic used by magicians is ultimately borrowed from magical entities in infinite diversity. Each magical entity is a multiverse-level deity that can effortlessly eliminate countless terrifying beings in the universe. Since it is a loan, it must be repaid and various costs must be paid. No one dares to owe money to a multiverse existence. The specific cost to pay depends on the preferences of each magical entity. A magical entity like the Trinity Emperor, who is easy to talk about and is a fusion of three multiverse-level deities, serves as a platform for the Taj Mahal in many universes, with low loan interest rates. Zhaoshuyuan.com Gui has always had a good habit of cultivating ascetics because they can help the Supreme Master share the debt, but now they are not needed. She decided to leave these ascetics to Strange. It can be said that as the largest demon in the multiverse, the extreme terror of the deep red universe, which is located outside of the multiverse, has always been more salty. Compared to the debt collection of all multiverse, this great demon prefers to lie down, and with a little bit of his power, he generally does not pay attention to it. The problem lies in black magic. The dark magic power of Koichi was borrowed from the dark dimension Lord Domum, and Domum's dark magic, in other words, was borrowed from the dark magic god Sizorn. Sisan's temper is notorious for being bad, stingy, and strong in thieves. Even if sealed and blown, he can kill countless universes and wipe out those who owe debts from multiple dimensions. So, the problem now is that if Gui takes the black magic he used, he will have to repay the debt to Sizorn, mainly because Domum is carrying it. This makes Gui very difficult. She wants the goods but doesn't want to give the money. What should she do? I can only continue to suffer a little more. Gui seemed to hear the curses of Demamna hysteria again. Look, it's all Sisan's fault for forcing the esteemed Domum into something. The future of this pathological universe is destined to be dark, even without some strange and meaningless guys, there will still be strange. I don't know how long I can procrastinate. Gui murmured softly, and a black spell came along, extending his lifespan. Being in the dark dimension, Domum, who was determined to kill Gui and devour the earth, suddenly opened his eyes and was filled with resentment. Shit, the debt has increased again.